Happy Wednesday. We made it to hump day, midweek. Gotta love that. It's July the 15th, and these are some of the headlines on bizarrebus.com. Chinese virologist who fled the U.S. vows to spill secrets of virus cover-up. Nick Cannon fired from Viacom for racist talk with no mention of his anti-white remarks. Portland mayor tells feds to back off while letting violent Marxists go on for 6 weeks. Mainstream media's most dishonest, biased news coverage of our lifetimes, and it's getting worse. And citizen scientists reveal further understanding about nature during lockdown. These are just some of the stories, all linked at bizarrebus.com. A Hong Kong virologist and whistleblower claims many lives could have been saved if the Chinese government hadn't censored her work. Li Mengyan, a scientist at the Hong Kong School of Public Health, says she fled to the U.S. to expose the truth about a Beijing cover-up over the coronavirus outbreak. Got to get past the stuff on the page. Since the coronavirus outbreak first came to global attention earlier this year, the Chinese government has faced accusations that it sought to silence anyone who had earlier tried to raise alarm. Li Mengyan is now determined to expose the Chinese government for allegedly knowing about the novel coronavirus before publicly acknowledging the outbreak. Well, we already know. Speaking to journalist Bill Hemmer, Yan warned of the global pandemic. "We don't have much time," she said. The virologist claimed this is a huge pandemic we have seen in the world. It's more than anything we've known in human history, so the timing is very, very important. If we can stop it early, we can save lives. The former specialist in virology said she feared she would be killed for speaking out in China and chose to escape to the United States, where she is currently hiding at an undisclosed location. Yan is now determined to expose the Chinese government for allegedly knowing about the novel coronavirus before publicly acknowledging the outbreak. She told a news channel, "The reason I came to the U.S. is because I deliver the message of the truth of COVID. If I tell it in Hong Kong, the moment I start to tell it, I will be disappeared and killed." According to Yan, the Chinese party and senior university staff suppressed evidence that the coronavirus could be transmitted between humans as early as last December. Oh, it's been long before that, I'm sure. I know it. Yan, who grew up in mainland China, said that she was among the first scientists asked to investigate a small number of cases in Wuhan. She claims her supervisor first asked her to conduct a secret investigation into the new SARS-like virus in Wuhan on December 31st of last year. Exactly, so they knew way before that. Yan said the China government refused to get overseas experts, even including ones in Hong Kong, to do research in China, so I turned to my friends to get more information. She said she then spoke to a number of contacts, including one who worked at a Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and she said the friend told her of an unknown virus that had emerged in Wuhan and that family cluster cases, an indicator of human-to-human transmission, had been observed. She was also told that the number of cases was thought to be rising exponentially. She claims that when she took her findings to her superiors, she was told to keep silent and be careful. "He warned me, don't touch the red line," Dr. Li said, referring to the unspoken limits placed by Beijing on such investigations. "We will get in trouble and we will be disappeared." The scientist said it was information that she believes could have saved lives. Yan claimed the Chinese government refused to let overseas experts, including those from Hong Kong, conduct the research in China. She said, "I have to hide because I know how they treat whistleblowers, and a whistleblower here, I want to tell the truth of the origin of the pestilence." She didn't say pestilence, I did. Doctors have reported being detained after speaking out on social media about what they were witnessing, while journalists have recounted being harassed and having their equipment confiscated after trying to report on the issue. Ill-fated whistleblower Dr. Li Wenlang tried to warn the world about the killer virus, but was sent a chilling letter by police before he died. Wingling was told by cops if he refused to repent, he would be punished. Not long before he was killed by the virus itself. Yan told Hemmer that she has records of communications with others in China and underlined that she is very much in fear for her life. Well, I bet she is. They don't let anything get by there, and they have agents here in the United States. I'm positive. Whistleblowers are told to keep silent if they want to reveal the truth, not only about the pestilence, but also for other things that's happening in China. I am waiting to tell all these things I know, provide all the evidence to the U.S. government, and I want them to understand, and I also want the U.S. people to understand how terrible this is. It is not what you have seen. This is something very different. We have to chase the true evidence to get the real evidence, because this is the key part to stop this pandemic. We don't have much time, she said. A bombshell spy dossier claimed China lied to the world about the pestilence by covering up the outbreak, which we know about. And a 15-page document obtained by Australia's Saturday Telegraph laid the foundation for a case being created against China for its handling of the deadly disease. The dossier from the Five Eyes intelligence agencies of the US, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand stated that China's secrecy surrounding the virus led to an assault on international transparency. It said despite evidence of human-to-human transmission from early December, authorities denied it until January 20th. Dude. The WHO did the same, yet officials in Taiwan raised concerns as early as December 31st, as did experts in Hong Kong on January 4th. On January 14th, weeks after the alleged evidence, the World Health Organization stated that there was no clear evidence for human-to-human transmission, and that's bullshit, as we now know. According to Johns Hopkins University, who's been involved with this, how do you get... Do you just pop off with a world map of fucking contagion overnight? No, dude. Just look up Event 201, okay? According to Johns Hopkins University, there have been 13 million blah, blah, blah confirmed cases of the virus across the globe and more than 500,000 deaths. Johns Hopkins is a part of this problem, dude. Part of the cover-up. You think you just come off with a freaking, oh, they got so many brilliant people over there that they have a convenient place to put sick people numbers instantly, like over effing night? Come on, dude. This chick probably has some serious news. I'm hoping that instead of her just saying she wants to whistleblow, that she actually does. But they probably wouldn't put that information out to the public right away, because we're fucking stupid, according to them. It's ridiculous, dude. Anyway, I'm going to link that at bizarrebus.com. Well, Viacom, CBS, terminates Nick Cannon over anti-Semitic remarks and does not mention his anti-white remarks at all. Thanks, Viacom. They need to be banned. Viacom CBS announced late on Tuesday evening that they had terminated their relationship with left-wing entertainer Nick Cannon after the actor made remarks that were widely deemed to be anti-Semitic on his podcast. How do we know he's left-wing? We don't know that. Just because his lines don't line up with everybody else. Viacom CBS condemns bigotry of any kind, and we will categorically denounce all forms of anti-Semitism. Said nothing about his comment about whites, because we deserve what we get, right? We have spoken with Nick Cannon about an episode of his podcast, Cannon's Class, on YouTube, which promoted hateful speech and spread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. He actually did that podcast with a member of Public Enemy. He used to be in Public Enemy, and he was kicked out for anti-Semitic remarks. While we support ongoing education and dialogue in the fight against bigotry, we're deeply troubled that Nick has failed to acknowledge or apologize for his perpetuating anti-Semitism, and we are terminating our relationship with him. We're committed to doing better in our response to incidents of anti-Semitism, racism, and bigotry. Really? You are? Viacom CBS will have further announcements in our efforts to combat hate of all kinds. Page 6 reported that Cannon promoted fringe anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about Jewish people, including the Rothschilds, centralized banking, the 13 families, the bloodlines that control everything, even outside of America. Well, on that we can agree, Nick Cannon, that that stuff does exist. We know that. That's what I'm saying. How do they know he's left? Did the dude say he's left? Just because he's black doesn't mean he's left. Viacom CBS statement did not directly mention anti-white remarks that Cannon made during the same podcast episode, where he suggested that white people were inferior to black people because of the color of their skin. I listened to it, and nothing he said made sense, okay? Listen to this. When you have a person that has a lack of pigment, because apparently pigment affects your brain, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated, Cannon said. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. Melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. We call it soul. Soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it, and I'm going to say this carefully, are a little less. When they didn't have the power of the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. They have to rob, steal, rape, kill in order to survive. Seems like you're talking about... Oh, never mind, dude. They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough environments. So they're acting like animals, Cannon added. So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And there's a video on this page, so you can see it yourself. It's pretty shocking, really. And I have to tell you that he wouldn't be the only one that feels that way, clearly. There's more and more comments, racist comments that are just let go because, well, we're white, we deserve it. Racism is racism. I don't care if it comes from a person of color or a person of lighter color, because we all have color to a certain degree. You don't know what's in my DNA. You don't know what's in my kid's DNA. So therefore, how do you just assume by looking at me that you know my situation? And I tell a lot of people that. So really what we're missing here is respect and love for our fellow man. And I think that lessons can be learned. If you are that intimidated by someone that's different than you and you show it in the words that you speak, like what I just read, you need a re-education, dude, or something. Anyway, you can watch the video. It's horrific for yourself. At bizarrebus.com. Well, a video the other day I told you about a new group, not necessarily Antifa, but similar to them, that's taking over Portland. Well, defiant Portland mayor tells feds to stay inside or leave city. Ask DHS to clean up graffiti. We do not need or want their help, he says. Yet, you'll need it. Trust me, you'll need it. And then if I was them, I'd tell you, hell no. You're on your own. Portland, Oregon Mayor Ted Wheeler lashed out at the Department of Homeland Security on Twitter Tuesday, urging federal agents to stay inside or leave as the city faces its sixth straight week of protests and unrest. Put a stop to it. I don't know what you don't understand. They're destroying your city, and you're letting them. They will never stop. Forcefully put a fucking stop to it. Y'all are lucky I'm not in control. I told the acting secretary that my biggest immediate concern is the violence federal officers brought to our streets in recent days. That's your concern, and you've got bricked up buildings, closed businesses, dead people, and the life-threatening tactics his agency is. Ugh. We do not need or want their help. DHS deployed officers from multiple federal law enforcement agencies this month to protect government installations, including a courthouse. Demonstrations have taken place around the country after the May 25th death of George Floyd, Minneapolis, in police custody. Yeah, we know. Just repeat what the fuck's been going on, dude. Meanwhile, city businesses have reported $23 million in losses due to looters and rioters amid the coronavirus pandemic that is already causing massive economic damage. That's the least of your concern, is the pandemic. You're just letting people destroy shit. I would totally move out of Oregon completely and entirely, and probably to Texas, where they give a shit. Chaos has broken out in the city's streets, frequently aimed at federal property, as activists and some local leaders have objected to the presence of federal officers. Who gives a shit whether you want them there or not? Over the weekend, 23-year-old demonstrator allegedly struck a federal officer in the head with a hammer outside a courthouse. The demonstrators accused of beating a hole into the building's door with the hammer before officers came outside. So they're inside the building. Then he struck the officer in the head and shoulder with the hammer before being taken into custody. The best thing they can do is stay inside their building, Riller wrote on Tuesday, or leave Portland altogether. Ugh. This guy needs taken by his ass out of office. He also criticized DHS for not cleaning graffiti off its buildings. Why you guys put up with this is beyond me. While we're busy cleaning out streets and buildings, the two federal buildings are covered with graffiti that has been there for weeks on end. Because they got their fucking hands full. Because you won't do anything to stop the bullshit. I'm going to have to tweet this dude. Portland police have been struggling to contain the unrest as well. The department's official Twitter account shows images and videos of demonstrations stretching back for weeks. The Bureau has publicly shared images of projectiles hurled at police, crowds refusing to clear out, and weapons seized from protesters. The police have said officers have been injured in a number of incidents on multiple occasions due to protesters throwing fireworks at them. You know what's going on, right? The governor's weak ass is hiding behind the protesters and allowing this to happen because he wants it to happen. So basically what you have is government against police. In this case, I would totally, you're just, that's all I know is people are lucky that I'm not in a public office. Our officers are tired, but they're resilient, says Chief Chuck Lovell in a statement announcing more than a dozen arrests on 4th of July. Our community deserves better than nightly criminal activity that destroys the value and fabric of our community. Meanwhile, other city leaders are exploring ways to reform the city's police with proposals like establishing a civilian board of commissioners or a community-controlled oversight board. Yeah, that's gonna effing work. The city auditor has held a virtual town hall on police reform on Monday. Well, good effing for him. It makes you want to cuss, dude. It just makes you want to cuss. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense at all. And that's what they want. They want conquer, divide and conquer. That's what they want. If I was the president, only if I was the president, that's all I can say. Well, anyway, I'm going to link that piece of shit on bizarreabyss.com. And you can read it for yourself. Well, let's take a small break to show you the new Bizarre Abyss face mask. Oh my gosh, y'all. You asked for it. You got it. $12.99. I'm sorry. That's the best we could do, y'all. We really tried to keep it lower than that. I really wanted to keep it $10.99, but I could not get it any lower. Offers full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 6-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, as you of course know, and $1 from every mask sale is donated to nonprofit to feed the children in need. Comes in black, gray, white, and red, so feel free to check that out. Go to bizarreabyss.com and get yours today if you would like to support us. This is an opinion piece by a guy named Michael Boone, and he says the most dishonest, biased news coverage of our lifetimes about mainstream media, and it's about to get worse. I don't think I've ever seen such dishonest and biased coverage of any event. That was from Britt Hume, who was covering the events of more than 50 years for Fox News, ABC News, and investigative reporter Jack Anderson. The event was President Trump's Independence Day speech at Mount Rushmore. The speech was, according to New York Times, dark and divisive, designed to deliver a divisive culture war message. The Washington Post called it a dystopian speech to push to amplify racism, which, no, it wasn't at all. Are we in the same universe? It wasn't at all. Absent from their... And I would say that it wouldn't matter who the president was, okay? If I felt something was a certain way, I would tell you. If I felt it was not that way, I would tell you. It has nothing to do with who the frickin' president is. Absent from their stories were quotations supporting racism. Nor did Illinois Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth supply any quotations to support her claim that Trump spent all of his time talking about dead traitors. Trump mentioned no Confederates, but did quote the battle hymn of the Republic. The great bulk of Trump's speech was a celebration of American history. If you find that racist, then F you, dude. We have a history. American principles and American leaders. He spoke extensively of the 4 presidents whose visages were sculpted on the mountain above him and paid tribute to more succinctly to others. He said, "We are the country of Andrew Jackson, Ulysses Grant, and Frederick Douglass. We are the land of Wild Bill Hickok and Buffalo Bill Cody. We are the nation that gave rise to the Wright brothers, the Tuskegee Airmen, Harriet Tubman, Clara Barton, Jesse Owens, George Patton, General George Patton, the great Louis Armstrong, Alan Shepard, Elvis Presley, and Muhammad Ali." Dark and divisive and dystopian, amplifying racism, where do you hear that at? Because he mentioned someone that you may not appreciate? Well, too bad. We are in America. It's called freedom of speech, dude. Whether you like it or not, it's speech. There's speech I hear all day I don't like, man. Just like that freaking previous dude in Portland. He's got freedom of speech just like I do. I can disagree with him all day. What really seems to have raised the press's hackles was Trump's dissent from their reverent attitudes towards BLM and apparent indifference to those tearing down statues of Lincoln, Douglas, Grant, abolitionists, and women's rights advocates. Angry mobs are trying to tear down statues of our founders, deface our most sacred memorials, and unleash a wave of violent crime in our cities. It's absolutely true. That's exactly what's happening. And governors are letting it happen. That's not the message most in the media want voters receiving in the months running up to November. TV viewers have been assured BLM protests are mostly peaceful, which is bullshit. Even while fires are blazing fiercely within camera view, they lie to your face. Lie to your face. Opinion writers are avoiding mention of the fact that homicides and murders in New York, Chicago, and numerous other cities have suddenly risen far above the numbers for 2019 and previous years. Most of the dead are black, but apparently those black lives don't matter. Really? Media sensibilities may have also been injured when Trump spoke of a far-left fascism, one of whose political weapons is cancel culture, driving people from their jobs, shaming dissenters, and demanding total submission from anyone who disagrees. Tattletales. Media. This may cut uncomfortably close to home, coming just a few weeks after the defenestration of the New York Times editorial page editor for running an article urging the deployment of federal troops, the same tactic that ended rioting and bloodshed in Los Angeles in 92 and in Detroit in 1967. That's exactly what I would do. For those media denizens, verbal disagreement is violence, while violent rioting is most peaceful. It's all back. We live in a freaking backwards Twilight Zone, dude. They say or feel compelled by newsroom pressure to say that Trump is divisive because he's accusing them accurately of being divisive. During the Charlottesville controversy around the statue of Robert E. Lee, Trump was ridiculed for predicting the statue protesters would target Washington and Jefferson. Well, the New York Times has run an opinion article coming after Washington and Jefferson. National Review editor Rich Lowry writes, I suspect that this is very important. I suspect that the very journalists who scoff at Trump's description of the culture war, all know that if they or their colleagues say something disparaging or even skeptical about Black Lives Matter, their jobs would instantly be at risk. And that is why I do not work for a corporation that can tie my words to what they want me to say. That's why I just take donations if someone feels like it. Because I'm not going to be, no one's going to tell me what to say. I can't be bought, dude. It ain't happening. Now, I'm not saying I won't take a paycheck. What I'm saying is it wouldn't be changing my words to do so, or my feeling on something. Hence the dishonest and biased press coverage from Trump's Mount Rushmore speech. Expect more in the months to come of the same. So, what happens is you have extreme people in charge of, extremely wealthy people in charge of all of the media companies. It's like one or two individuals and they own them all. And their opinion is what flies out of the mouths of news reporters. That in turn is what they think will get them the votes they want for their candidate, which in this case would be Biden. So you have to decide for yourself whether the news is telling the truth or not. And I highly encourage everyone, instead of listening to the news telling you how Trump's speech went, go and listen to it for yourself. Go and listen and decide for yourself if it was dystopian or racist or whatever they're calling it, because you are smart enough to make up your own mind about what you are hearing. You don't need to hear out of someone else's mouth what they, and including me, dude. If you find something that I say is questionable, go check it out. I totally want you to. If I'm wrong, tell me. That's part of the world that we live in. No one is perfect. I suggest that we all do investigative reporting triple time at this point, because the lies coming out of the mainstream media is just beyond any measure right now. It's more than I've ever seen in my lifetime. Anyway, I will link this, and you can listen to the president's speech yourself at bizarrebus.com. Well, since lockdown, a lot of us have been looking out of the curtains all afternoon while working or whatever we're doing, maybe even outside a little bit. What citizen scientists revealed about nature during the lockdown. The previous lockdown, I guess, because we're probably on our way to another one, but scientists received help from people tracking wildlife from their windows during lockdown. The data has brought new insights. Thousands of people have used their time at home in lockdown to become citizen scientists, collecting data to help further our understanding of the health of the planet. According to Lorianne Whittle, a citizen science officer at the Woodland Trust, the charity received double the number of contributions from the public for its Nature's Calendar project during the first few weeks of lockdown as it did during the same period in 2019. We couldn't run this project without citizen scientists from all over the UK. To take part, people record the changes around them, such as leaves appearing on trees or birds starting to nest. Dude, I didn't know that. I've had 2 birds outside my windows start nests this year and raise little chicks. So cute, little birdies. There is absolutely no way that scientists could be in all these places looking out for all these different events all throughout the year. The data is open for any analyst to use. So far, it has allowed researchers to confirm that the start of spring in the UK has crept forward by 6 days compared to 100 years ago. Wow. Which has implications for birds nesting and breeding. We can use that information for the conservation and management of the species. Projects like this are beneficial to those taking part too. Valerie Hurst from Stratford-upon-Avon has been collecting data for Nature's Calendar since it began 20 years ago. It's made me become so much more aware of what's around me, no doubt. Dude, do we have something like this in the United States? In May, the Biotopia Museum in Munich, Germany launched its Dawn Chorus project, asking citizens to record the bird song near their homes, ideally at dawn. When it's loudest, the sounds captured will be used to gauge the state of biodiversity around the world. Dude, that's awesome. And in Italy, people have been recruited to measure the light pollution in the night sky. Participants download an app, which then uses their phone to measure the light surrounding it. The aim is to test how much external light pollution reaches inside people's homes. Dude! Many of these projects, such as the Dawn Chorus project, will continue year on year. Whittle hopes that people's appreciation of nature during lockdown will continue too. The strength of the project is in its citizen scientists and them actually doing not just one record for 1 year, but multiple records year on year, she said. There's more ways to become a citizen scientist. You can track plastic pollution. It's called Earth Challenge, which launched in April. It's aiming to collect the largest amount of citizen science data around plastic pollution and air quality in the world, starting by building a global database of sources of plastic pollution. There's also Monitor B&Bs for Bees, a new project by Save Your Bees and Norwich Research Park is encouraging people to share how they are using bee hotels in their gardens to gather reliable information on what's helping pollinators and what isn't. There's also Spot Spider Monkeys. The British Science Association has been urging members of the public to look for and tag spider monkeys in drone footage clips of Central American forests to help tackle habitat loss. That is amazing. Anyway, you can check it out yourself at bizarrebus.com. I have said to my boss today on a meeting we had over the phone that we should be off every summer. I literally get so much more work done because I'm more focused. I have the best view of gardens. I couldn't be happier. Like, literally. We need to be at home working more often. It's ridiculous. Be sitting in a dark-ass cube all the time. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.